Welcome everybody to this webinar on Executive PhD program in Private Sector Development from the University of Maastricht, Maastricht School of Management, implemented by the Expert Center on Emerging Economies. My name is Diederik de Boer. I'm a professor in sustainable business, director of the Expert Center, and my research focuses on CSR, cluster development, and economic development. And before I worked for the United Nations in different capacities, and later on also for the civil society and multinationals, and over the last 20 years in different capacities for the Maastricht School of Management. I would also like to introduce to you Iris Weyenberg, who will further discuss at the end of this webinar also the different processes, and also Michaela Parillo, who will deal with the Q&A aspects of this webinar also later during the Q&A section. But let's first start now with the Executive PhD program on private sector development. I will give a brief overview of private sector development, how we see it, and what is our expertise. We will provide you a little bit also with some samples of topics of the PhDs already enrolled. Then we give also time for more generic information, processes, requirements, fees. We have a small section on the courses which we offer within this PhD program, and then finally we have Q&A. We reserved about 1 hour for this whole session. And I would like now to start then with giving a small overview of the University of Maastricht. At Maastricht School of Management, we are a member of the Faculty of Business and Economics. About 23,000 students are enrolled, and within this Faculty of Business and Economics, we have 9 departments and 5 centers, and the PhD program is part of the GSBE, that is the Graduate School of Business and Economics. And this PhD program is one of the 3 PhD programs offered by this Graduate School of Business and Economics. Since 2 years, the Maastricht School of Management is a member of the University of Maastricht. We started already to be in existence, and we were established in 1952. In Delft, and for a long time, till 1989, we were also part and a member of the University of Delft, and we were established in those days with the aim of providing management education to engineers in the Netherlands. Over the years, we finally received also the mandate to focus on management education and research in upcoming markets. And as a result, also we moved out of the University of Delft. We moved to Maastricht, and since 2 years now we are also a member of the University of Maastricht. As Maastricht School of Management, we're working mainly in upcoming markets, about 50 countries in the world, and as we are already in existence for such a long time, we have also a huge alumni network all around the world in different alumni chapters, about 21,500. Within the Maastricht School of Management, we have 2 main departments. We have one department focusing on management education. We have a MBA program, a Master of Business Administration program, and we have a Master of Management program. And the other pillar of the Maastricht School of Management focusing on research and projects and executive training, and also PhD program, and we call that the Management Development Department. And that's the department which I am heading. Within the Maastricht School of Management, and this is also important for the Executive PhD program, we focus on 3 distinctive pillars of research. The first pillar focuses on all kinds of innovation issues within private sector development. Such issues relate to public-private partnerships, triple helix constructs, so how businesses work together with government and with universities. We work in the field of organizational development, organizational change, leadership, and entrepreneurship. And we work on the more macro level on industrial policy and financial developments. Um, and that's also reflected, and we will also put some time in it there in the different topics identified by the PhD students. For us as well, it's important. Private sector development relates also to this issue of development, and development comes in different formats, and and they're defined here in this picture in terms of cross-cutting themes. So we identify three different themes. First of all, it's the societal impact. So everything we are engaged in it, the research we are focusing on should have an impact on society in one way or the other, and all our research should relate to that as well. The next part relates also to the aspect of sustainability and inclusiveness. So to what extent are green and inclusive aspects related to the research we are doing, with a little bit of link also to the digitalization. And finally, what is also specific for us as a unit within the university, we focus also a lot on our relations towards society, but starting from a university or a vocational educational background. So what is the relation of R&D, or what is the relation of skills vis-a-vis private sector development? But this is also related as a cross cutting theme. That Let's move into the topic of private sector development itself. So how do we see as Maastricht School of Management the private sector? Is for us, it's about a range of strategies aiming to establish markets that function vibrantly and fairly, but focusing as well on inclusiveness as well as sustainability, and looking for economic opportunities and innovations in that respect. I put in here also a picture of the latest publication from our center, Private Sector Development in the Emerging World, which just came out by the Gruiter by the beginning of this year. If we're looking at private sector development in emerging economies, then we define emerging economies as defined by the World Bank as low or lower middle or middle income countries. Private sector development, if we're looking at private sector development, it relates very much so to three mega trends which we see today in the world. Private sector development is, of course, an engine for development, and is related to external aspects, trends, which are geopolitics, digitalization, and sustainability. Sustainability in the field of climate change, sustainability in the field of issues related to energy. Digitalization is, of course, a big theme. How are we going to deal with all kinds of AI formats in the years ahead, and what will be the impact of AI on the private sector, on the different sectors in the economy? But finally, also we look into geopolitics. What will the impact be of the geopolitical situation in the world on the different sectors in industry? So, for example, the car manufacturing sector is impacted by the relationship between China and the United States. So, what will be the impact on the car manufacturing? So, geopolitics, in general sense, is also an important topic to take into consideration. And that relates then finally then also to challenges and opportunities. So if we're looking into sustainability, then on the one side in emerging economies, you see that we have a challenge in terms of technological advancement. We have challenges in the field of weaker infrastructure. We have challenges in the field of global technology monopolies, which are in other parts of the world and not related to emerging economies. So how are we dealing with these monopolies in the field of technology vis-a-vis, for example, solar energy, or in the field of of wind energy, or in the field of food processing? Challenges also relate to the fact that if we're looking into private sector development, And if we're looking into these aspects of geopolitics, is it then also necessary to choose sides? Or can we also, as an emerging economy, see to what extent it's not necessary to choose sides? And that relates then also to the opportunities itself. So if we're um, looking at the weaker infrastructure, then you can also say that we can also deal with the aspects of leapfrogging. We can also we do not have that much fixed telephone lines or pipelines, and we can invest therefore also less in these legacy systems, these old systems, and we can move quite fast to new kind of infrastructure and systems. We're becoming less dependent on fossil energy. If we're looking at emerging economy, the percentage of economies which are already green and the percentage of sectors which are already green are much higher in emerging economies than in the more global north economies. And of course, opportunities as well is that we would like to learn from each other. So we can learn from the mistakes all kinds of sectors, economies made over the past, and what will that bring us for us in the future. So looking at these challenges and opportunities brings us then also to the vision which we do have in mind. So what kind of vision is going to be in place if we're looking at our research on private sector development? And so, and in that aspect, you can use this transformation vision, the three horizons framework of WOW, which I like a lot. So the third horizon relates to a viable world. We're at the moment in this world of turbulent transitions, and we're in a world of crisis these days, geopolitical, sustainability, and also digitalization. And then with a vision, how can we build upon the fact what we have already, see the dots on the horizon, but maybe are not always that realistic, and how can we find our way in between for the different economic sectors? So private sector development, research, in which we are engaged in that, tries to give these answers. What should be the role of the private sector in the future within these three different vision frameworks, which we have in front of us here, and what could be then the role of the different sectors in that relation? If we're looking at these different horizons, it's also then interesting, and I borrowed here from a World Bank report to look at different pathways which we could follow as an emerging economy. Many of the countries in which we work as the Maastricht School of Management are countries which are agricultural driven. So also pathways for transformation are focusing on the agriculture itself. So try to focus on aspects related to high productivity, which can also support agro processing. So not only depending or providing raw materials, but also try to see to what extent we can upgrade to provide more processing aspects in the agricultural sector. The second aspect relate then towards this component, so local content and local participation. So in the chocolate industry, we should try to see to what extent we can build up our own chocolate factories in the countries where the raw materials coming from. In the mining sector, I put it in here in between brackets. It's the same thing. So what are the opportunities to get our private sector development from the different emerging economies involved in the mining sector in final products within the mining sector, and not becoming only providing um, raw materials. Another important pathway for transformation relates to the service sector itself. More and more countries in the world are dependent on the developing service sector, and the service sector can be focusing then on the ICT sector, for example, or in the financial sector. So you can try to see to what extent we can opt for one of these sectors over the other, and trying to make that a priority, and trying to make for your country that also a competitive and comparative niche over strategies from other countries. The service sector is an important and interesting growth sector. Of course, if you're talking to many of the Bretton Woods institutions and also traditional economics focuses also on export-oriented manufacturing. Because of small markets. We have a small market in many of these emerging economies. Export is an important role in order also to get hard currency in. So what are possibilities to create bigger markets and to have the export um, uh, well, to create bigger markets so that we can also develop our own industry. And if that's not possible, how can we stimulate and also the export-oriented manufacturing? Given the rapid urbanization, the fifth aspect becomes also more important. So what kind of industry private sector development can relate to an enhancing infrastructure, given this rapid urbanization? So in many countries in the world, we're seeing now these mega cities come up with all the opportunities and the challenges also related to that, but also a lot of improved infrastructure in terms of transportation, in terms of water and sewage systems setting up, and of course, that could also be a magnet and a tool for transformation, focusing on this enhancing infrastructure. Creative industries is six pathways which we see happening, for example, in India and in Nigeria, where we have the different uh, Bollywoods and Nollywoods industries setting up. And of course, by having a cluster of these industries in one of these in this area, also attracts other creative industries, and is also a pathway for future development, especially also if you relate that to the ICT sector. Finally, tourism. It's an interesting potential for job creation. So a lot of low-skilled labor is getting a job within the tourism sector, and that's definitely also an important possibility to future development and also for private sector development to focus on. This is not an exhaustive list, but I think it's giving possibilities to see to what extent some of the researches we're looking at can be related to some of these pathways presented here. Now, if we're looking at private sector development, we're looking on the one side to sustainability. So how can we create sustainable private sector development? But first of all, it's important to look at the competitive level which we have as a business or as a country or as a region. So therefore, also this slide in which we define competition possibly at an enterprise level or at a national cluster region or local level, because businesses together are much better performing, as we know out of literature, than in a cluster than businesses alone. So competition then links with sustainability. And in our research, then you can look at the issues of sustainability related to economics, financial sustainability. But we also would like to look at social sustainability. So to what extent the businesses, local businesses, can become part of a global value chain, a global industry, or from an inclusion point of view. So to what extent also more local workers can be absorbed by the industry. If we're talking about sustainability, then also the environmental part is coming into play much more recently, in which we also try to see what are the cost of industry vis-a-vis the private sector development, and then the cost of industry is often not taken into the whole picture, and environmental aspects of sustainability are then of importance. If we're looking at private sector development, then and we look at it from a sustainability point of view, then first of all we have the economic foundation layer as depicted here in the pyramid. We have five actors according to Porter, and I always try to link also to the cluster literature, in which he defines then the aspect of access to finance, access to research and development, infrastructure, skills, and policy. Um, they are part of this picture, and that's in a way the basics on which we looked at private sector development in the past. But we learned over time that working in emerging economies means also that you have to look into the societal actors. We have to look into the areas of security, safety. We have to look in the areas of education and health, as we notice that there is no healthy private sector development if people are not healthy, or if there is no security in the region, or if there is even no food security. And over the last 3 years, we also find that if we're dealing with private sector development and we're not trying to cost environmental health issues or ecosystem vitality, air related issues into the overall picture of private sector development, then also this picture is also not becoming sustainable for the long term. So therefore, we developed also this cluster pyramid, trying to focus finally on the top on inclusive, sustainable business. So if we're looking at the economic foundation layer, which I was mentioning in the beginning, then we look at aspects like finance, we look at R&D. So what is the role of universities, research and development, or other research institutions? We look at the aspects of infrastructure related to also the transformational pathways. What kind of infrastructure is in place? We're looking at the aspects of skills. So to what extent do you have well-performing vocational training centers? And we're looking at the aspects of policy. To what extent are sound policies in place which support private sector development? So these five institutions mentioned here, they form together the supportive institutions for a cluster within private sector development. So either in furniture or in tourism or in mining, and that is how we also analyze then private sector development and looking at the gaps and opportunity in the economic foundation actors. Our research also looks then into the societal actors, as I mentioned, and we have a whole database which we try to justify and to see what are the relationship between a healthy workforce and a good working public sector vis-à-vis private sector development, just as an example. And we try to build it up based on existing databases from the World Bank, FAO, and others. Finally, we do that also with the environmental aspects, institutions related to the Environmental Performance Index, which comes from Yale and Columbia universities. So from an institutional point of view, it's important to look at these institutions at the economical layer, at the societal layer, and at the environmental layer. But of course, we have to look also into the relationship between these institutions and also within countries, but also between countries. So therefore, also the tool within private sector might be interesting to look at the theory of global value chains, which we can focus on very simple value chains as depicted here on the left side, and towards more specialized value chains on the right side, in which you have also more countries and actors involved in coming to the final product. The tool of value chain development is an interesting tool to help you understand better where the value in the chain is, and also how it is distributed between the different actors, from the input supplier to the final consumer. And also on the right side, you see that we're more and more try also to make it and to see to what extent it is possible to make it also more circular. So recycling becomes more and more part of the value chains. Another tool to use within private sector development relates to public-private partnerships. And more we see that if we would like to fulfill different needs, challenges, and opportunities in society, the government alone cannot do it, the private sector alone cannot do it. We have to work together. So we need the private sector, but we need also the public sector to see if we can build bridges together, if we can build roads, if we can create also ecosystems for entrepreneurship in different clusters, in the tourism sector, in the agricultural sector. So if it's not public-private partnerships, then it's the triple helix approach as depicted in this picture. in which you also see more and more, and that's not only in the United States, when we look at Silicon Valley, which you have the government, the private sector, and the universities involved in this ICT sector, but also here in Maastricht, we're working also according to this triple helix contract in which we work together with the Netherlands in 5 different areas, from data processing to chemical industry to agricultural or to the horticultural sector to health. So 4 of these triple helix contracts are in existence. As Maastricht School of Management, we are also engaged in many of these projects abroad in emerging economies, and there are a lot of them are also related and built upon this triple helix approach to see how we can create innovation by having universities working with government as well as the private sector. And finally, that relates then also to a picture in which we have the public-private partnerships. We have the institutional environment related to that from an economical, societal, and environmental point of view. We're looking at the competitive resources, the comparative advantages which we have as a country, and we can put the value chain in the middle to see where the value is. And in a way, I'm trying here to depict uh, how we can analyze private sector the development better. Then, as an example, this is from the cohort, the first cohort of the PhD program on private sector development. Here are I just listed some examples on which students are working now. The first one is on industry platforms for emerging markets in the energy sector, and the other one is related to R&D and university rankings. Um, we have somebody looking at societal actors and the role of NGOs into private sector development. We have a student working on the financial actors, SME lending systems in private sector development, and we have somebody working on AI, intelligent service robots, vis-a-vis the workplace. What is the impact of the workplace in the sector, and in this case, it's in the service sector. Well, these are just some examples from our first cohort, and also in the second cohort, and we have students which do relate to these topics. I would like to end this short um, short webinar on the content of private sector development with a quote from Hyung Chang, in which he says that equality of opportunity is not enough unless we create an environment where everyone is guaranteed some minimum capabilities through some guarantee of minimum income, education, and healthcare. We cannot say that we have a fair competition. And some people have to run a 100-meter race with sandbags on their legs. The fact that no one is allowed to have a head start does not make the race fair. Equality of opportunity is absolutely necessary, but not sufficient in building a generally fair and efficient society. So we have to look at these alternatives, and we have to take some of this wording of Hyung Chang into consideration in our research on private sector development in emerging economy. Thank you very much, and I hope to answer also some of your questions later during this webinar. For now, I would like to give the floor then to Iris Weyenberg, who is going to talk you over the program and the process of the PhD program itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Diederik. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about the program overview, the admission requirements, and all sorts of other information. So the part-time executive PhD program that allows working professionals and researchers to combine their careers with obtaining a PhD. So when you have your PhD, that will really improve your career prospects, both in academia and in business. And of course, you are making an original contribution into the field of research, and that will also add to previous research done. And by joining the program, you will become part of a stimulating and challenging research community of Maastricht University School of Business. and Maastricht School of Management. In the next slide, we will have the program information of year 1. So, Diederik, can you please move to the next one?
Sorry.
Okay, so year 1. In year 1 of the program, we organize 4 workshops. And there are 2 on-campus workshops in Maastricht, here on the campus. And there are 2 online workshops. The workshops are scheduled in May and November. These are the on-campus days. And then these are, let's say, 3 days that you are on campus following workshops in Maastricht. And then there are 2 online days, and one is in September and one is in February. And what do you do in the first year of the PhD program? You will complete your PhD research proposal. It's a lot of reading, and reading. And also in that first year, your supervisors will be assigned to you. And then 12 to 15 months after the start of the program, your supervisory team will evaluate your progress. And admission to the second year depends on the successful assessment of your research proposal. So your supervisory team, they will really see that the progress you made in the first 12 to 15 months. So this is, in short, year 1. And then when we go to year 2 and all the other years, so each following year, we will have 1 on-campus workshop, and again, like 3 days, and there will be 3 online days. On-campus workshop will be in May, and then we also try then in May to have all the cohorts on campus, because that's also an opportunity to network with your fellow students. So we have all cohorts on campus for in May, so they can also, work together and talk to each other. And also during the workshops, you will receive feedback, of course, on your work. And during these on-campus sessions, it's also an opportunity to meet with your supervisors and evaluate your progress. So it's also nice to meet these people in person and not only, let's say, via Zoom or Teams. The general timeline of the PhD program is 4 years, but the experience is that most candidates need a bit more time. You are all working, you have families, and sometimes also traveling for work. So most of them, they need a bit more time. So it can take up to 7 years without an extension. And in exceptional cases, there can be another extension, but the maximum is a duration of 10 years. Your profile. So who are we looking for? We need candidates. We're looking for candidates with a master's degree, and you should have strong academic records. Very important is also that you can work independent. So that you can really work by yourself and independent, and that you have also strong research skills. We welcome candidates from all over the world, so the program is open to all people. And the candidates in the program, they have work responsibilities. So either you work full-time, part-time, you are a consultant, you are self-employed. If you have an employer, then it would be nice if they can support a candidate in a way like have flexible working hours or access to data, and even sometimes if they can provide some assistance also in the financial issues, that would also be nice. But also, if you, because I sometimes get the question a lot, like when I'm self-employed, then don't have support from an employer, and that's also fine with us, you know. So if you are self-employed and there is no employer involved, that's also okay. Then you can also apply for the program. In the next slide, we will go to the application procedure. We use an online application portal, and this is the only submitted applications in the online application portal will be evaluated. So don't start sending all files through the email or whatever. No, please go to the online application portal, and you see an example here on the screen. So on the program website, there's a button, Apply Online, and then you choose Executive PhD and you fill out all the information we are asking for and uploading the documents we want to see from you. The application deadline is the 1st of December. And please keep in mind to submit your application before or on the 1st of December, and also take look at maybe time zones and other issues. So make sure that your application is submitted on time, because otherwise, you know, we really have to close at some date, and that's the 1st of December. So, and then what's next? The application requirements. So, of course, we do have some application requirements. One I mentioned already, that's a master degree in a relevant academic field. What else do we need from you? Like certified copies of your bachelor master diplomas, your transcript, proof of English, a motivation letter, the reference letters we are asking for. And it's good to say that you don't have to ask for a reference letter from your referee. No, in the application system, there is an option where it says reference request, and you just fill out there the name of the email address and the name of the referee, and he or she will get a link from us. They fill out the information and it gets automatically back into the online application portal. So there is no format for an application for a reference letter. The same for a motivation letter. There's no format, specific format that you should use, but you know, keep in mind that your motivation letter is a strong one, so that it really attracts the attention of the admission board. We also, if there is an employer involved, and if that employer is willing to support you, then you can upload that letter of support. Of course, your CV. We ask for a copy of passport, and very important one, that's the expression of interest. So this is your preliminary research idea. And on the next slide, we will explain a bit what the expression of interest looks like. There is a format for that can be downloaded from the program website. And in that expression of interest, we ask you, let's say, in about 3 to 4 pages to write about your research, your first research ideas. So what you can see here, it's a bit of an introduction to the study, the literature review, the methodology, the feasibility, and of course, your references used to write this. The template can be downloaded from the program website, and yeah, that's the expression of interest. And then the next step will be the review of the applicants. And how is that done? So let's say after the application deadline, so after the 1st of December, then the assessment of the application documents is done by me. And then the assessment, the next assessment is done by the Board of Admissions. So they will look at your motivation letter, your CV, and your expression of interest. Then some candidates will be selected for an interview, and the interviews are now planned. That you will hear that by the end of January approximately, and then the interviews are planned for February 2025, and after that the final decision about selection is taken, and then you will be informed. So this is a bit of the timeline of the review. And that brings us to the fees. You can see here year one, 9,000 euros, and all the other years, 7,000 euros. The application fee is 95 euros, and that has to be paid before you can submit your application. Yeah, so that's the last step in the online application, is paying the application fee. Then you can click on submit, and then we will get your submitted application. Once again, application deadline 1st of December. One thing I should say here with fees, please be informed that there are no scholarships available. I get that question a lot, but there are no scholarships available for the executive PhD. And then finally, when you will obtain your PhD, then you also maybe want to see what does the PhD degree look like. I also get lots of questions about that. That's because our PhD is called like executive PhD. Then questions are like, does executive, do I see that on my degree? No, you don't see that on the degree. And PhD degree is, here you have an example of the PhD degree. And what is mentioned there is, of course, your name and the title of your dissertation, the name of the university, and all the people who will sign the degree. So this is the PhD degree. Nothing like online is mentioned on there. Executive is not mentioned on there. So this is just to show you an example of what a PhD degree looks like. I'll give the floor back to Diederik now, and for the last couple of slides. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Iris. One special course which is open to selected PhD students for the PhD program is a course on research and method skills, which we can also be attended online and also at your own pace, and consists of 4 different courses, from a conceptual framework to literature review to analytical skills and quantitative skills, and finally also relates to the design of a research proposal. And the course can also be attended, and you can also subscribe for that one. And it provides for those who do not have that much research background an interesting step to be ready for a PhD program at Maastricht. So that's what we wanted to mention to you. We always start this course in September, and takes 3 months, but it's also an executive course, so you can do it online, and it requires a certain a couple of hours a week, which you need to devote to that. And then we have per module, we have 2 times 2 hours of sessions with professors who are heading this, and finally then relate to the development of a research proposal, which should also be defended for a committee. And of course, if you do that very well, then that gives you definitely a plus also for the enrollment within the PhD program. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of this webinar, but we have quite some questions for the Q&A. So, Michaela, should I now try to read up the question from the Q&A or the chat first? What do you want me to do?
The chat, the Q&A, please, Diederik.
The Q&A, all right. I work in hospitality asset development. line and I would like to do an MSM next year. My question is, would sustainable community building in context of hospitality assets in a new urban landscape count as an acceptable research theme under your DBA program? Well, we don't have a DBA, yeah. This is a PhD, but there's not much different. So would sustainable community building in context of the hospitality asset, um, that's a difficult question. It depends still from where you look at the hospitality sector. Uh, you do that from a engineering point of view. You look at it, or from a managerial point of view. So please remember, we are a business school. We are a management institute. So we look at things from a business, managerial, or economical perspective. I think that's what needs to be said here. Also, would the blended program mean I'm allowed to attend most of the program online? Yeah, so I think like what Iris said is that only in year one we require you to be here in Maastricht for 3 days. And for the rest, we have again workshops online, either in the RMS program, as I just mentioned, but on top of that, we have also our own workshops, which is also 1 day. And for the rest, a lot is with your supervisors, and which you dive into your own subject, and that is normally about one once a month, which you have contact with your mentor or supervisors. Good day. I'm currently still in the public sector, but I'm also a freelance consultant in the area of social protection and social hire. Do you think I can still pursue a PhD through your school with a social protection slant nuance? Um, I would like to relate you then to the PhD program from our sister program, which is run by UNU Merit, the university. Uh, Inspire, it's also called, and there they have focused more on this issue of social protection. Alternatively, still, if you cannot find your way there, you still can apply, and then we can also contact here within the university itself with you and your merit ourselves. Then, hi Michaela, perhaps it will be covered later. Is it necessary to have our employer involved in our PhD? And one more question, although I'm sure you will cover it, what is the average time investment per week? Iris, you want to say something about
Yeah.
the employer?
Yeah, I think I explained clearly about the employer. So if an employer is willing to support you, that's okay and that's nice. But if you don't want to involve your employer, or if you're self-employed, then that's also okay. So I think that answers the question. And then the second one, what's the average time investment per week? Diederik, correct me if I'm wrong. I think doing a PhD is investment every day. I think, correct?
Well, no, that's
Working on
difficult
the
to say.
topic.
Yeah, well, I think that's difficult to say because people are different as well, and people are also working. So, in general, what people do is, and that therefore also your employer is important to see to what extent it's possible to take off 1 day a week, or extend it to the weekends. But yeah, in time investment, it's difficult to say, but at least I would say it's 8 hours a week.
Okay.
Ismail, hello. I'm interested in exploring research along the lines of energy transition, emerging economies. Does that fit into your framework? Excellent. That's of course fitting very well, as some of the examples I mentioned is on energy triple helix programs, which are researched now at cases in Eastern Europe. Juan Grera, what are the publication requirements um, like FT50, QA, Q4, and how many? Um, I think we mentioned that as well, Iris.
No, we didn't say that much about what the structure of the dissertation will be, that it can be publication article based.
Yeah, so preferably we have it article based, and if you talk then about the number of articles required, which should be double-blinded review, and we strive to have 3 articles then finally published or in the pipeline. That is the requirements. Then I'm passionate about sustainable development in Africa and have over 20 years of experiences. Oh, that's a whole story. My wish is to conduct advanced research on value chain development. Does this topic fit in? Yes. Secondly, I graduated from French Business School, but I've been working since 2002. Do I still need to submit a proof of proficiency in English, Iris?
No, I don't think so, but that's I can also look at it case per case, but I don't think so if I read it like this. Then you just mentioned under that option in the application system, you mentioned your experience already with the English language.
And I think that's the same question is for relates to this is from
Well,
Faisal
yeah,
Ramli, and I think for him it's the same thing. So a TOEFL is
it's
then not really necessary for people coming from these
yeah.
native English
I can
speaking
say to
countries.
that if your master degree was completely taught in English, then normally we don't ask for a proof of English proficiency.
I would, Nicole Alexander, I would love to understand if my research focus feels like it would be a good fit for the program. Research focus investigate how global enterprise implement ethical AI strategies across the different regions, focusing on how geopolitical tensions and local regulations impact corporate decision-making, study process, and business outcomes. The research could address how ethical AI consideration influence global expenses. Yeah, I think it's a great topic, Nicole. Although still, I think you should try to focus and your question of ethical issues related to AI. Try to see to what extent you can focus on one economic sector and also a kind of region in which this can be researched. But definitely, this is. I think we have now 3 PhDs focusing on this topic of AI. Anonymous, I live and work in Canada in the field of accounting, and I'm interested in pursuing a PhD focused on internal control. With a comparative study between Canada and the Netherlands, would this be an acceptable research topic? Yeah, well, it does not. It relates to private sector. Well, it depends a little bit on how you define internal control. Comparative study between Canada and the Netherlands. Would it is that internal control within industry? Is it between countries? I prefer to see there also an emerging economy coming up if you would like to focus on this topic. And again, also it depends on which industry sector you would like to focus on.
Diederik, I think I can answer the next
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Next question, and I think already the communications officer already answered that. So yes, you will get the recording that will be shared with everybody who registered in the upcoming days or maybe tomorrow already. And again, here was a question about I've completed my education in English. Then no, you don't need to submit an English test certificate. And the next question, I think I can also answer. That question is from Duke. Do you have any preferences in who the recommender should be? That can be, you know, academics, but also from your professional environment. So it can be former professors, but also employers. Can be both.
And can you have a co-supervisor from a different university? I think yes, that is possible. A co-supervisor from another university might be considered, although we have then to approve the CV of those universities. But in certain instances, we do. Although the final supervisor with promotion rights comes from the University of Maastricht. Is there a possibility of having a research topic within sports sector? Is asking some Donga, and definitely that's possible. We have in the cohort of last year, we had one student from South Africa focusing on the sports sector in relation to private sector development in South Africa. Duke Tam, is there a minimum of ECTS to have obtained to be able to apply, Iris?
We are asking for a completed master degree, and I know that the amount of ECTS can be different in master degrees. So what I would advise Duke here is if he or she really wants to know, then contact me, and then I will have a look into the transcripts and where the bachelor and the master was done.
The next question is again from somebody anonymous. Can I also participate in lectures from other within other universities? Of course, you can. What we try to provide here as much as possible, and you're becoming also part of the PhD community within the University of Maastricht. As Maastricht School of Management, we are offering certain courses, and you can voluntarily attend these courses within Maastricht School of Management, but also within the faculty and even in the broader community. But if that's not enough, or if it's not specific enough, then of course we would like to encourage also to get other courses if that is required for your research.
Okay, the next question by Sam. Is it a requirement to have a defined research topic by the time you apply? You should have like that expression of interest. So your first research idea. So you should come up with something when applying, and then so you have to submit that expression of interest, and then it is maybe possible that, let's say, suppose you are selected, that your research ideas go a little bit in a different direction, correct, Diederik?
Yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's our experiences. Well, still that within the sector or something, your focus remains on sustainability or AI or geopolitics, but it is possible that you change a little bit or you zoom in more than what is presented during your application. What is then the common format for the PhD thesis at MSM? Is this focused on one topic only, a selection of essays, or are both options possible? So that's you have two tastes within the PhD itself. You have a monograph in which you have one topic only. I think that's how the person Victor here defines it, and a selection of articles. He calls it here essays. In a way, yes. In theory, both are possible. Although the final one, journal-based, essay-based, as you call it here, but these essays should be submitted to journals, are preferred. Victor Steenberg, is it possible to build on previous original work that may still need a strong empirical and it's not published? Definitely. I mean, then you have already a background in a certain field. You have also the data sets, and I think I would like to encourage you also to use that as much as possible, because that gives you then also an advantage in the future in the work. Duke Tam, what should be handed in as proof?
I think that question was already answered, Diederik.
Melina, how final needs the expression of interest to be?
Yeah.
Well,
I think you also answered that. It's the first research idea, and
Melina, I think it's very important that we get an understanding of your capabilities in field of in doing research. So therefore, also, I mean, we would like, if you choose for a certain idea, we would like to see that it has been done in a rigorous way. So therefore, also the literature review related to that, as well as the introduction, etc. The whole setup, what Iris said, and I think that's very important, that we have the feeling that you understand what you would like to do, and if you would like to do research a certain topic. Anonymous, hello. As part of the program, if we need to attend other lectures, that's we answered that letter like this.
Yeah, you answered that already.
During Guerra, I'm currently enrolled in another university. Can I still enroll in your program? Additionally, if it's possible to skip the first year, my research is approved by your faculty expert committee. Oops. I'm currently enrolled in another university as PhD candidate. I can imagine. Can I still enroll in your program? Uh, then Juan, I think this is a specific case. I would like you to email to Iris your case, and then we can discuss it further. Okay, Iris?
The next one is I hold an MSc from an applied science university. If it is a completed master degree, then you can apply. Again, if you really want to double check that with me, that's possible, then just contact me and then we will look into your MSc. Next question is already answered.
Mm-hmm. Now, next one is again about English.
Next one is also answered.
Then Blaze, do you require GMAT?
As far as I know, no, we don't require that, but
What are you expecting from candidates during the interviews? We're expecting candidates to understand the the research they submitted and that they show also that they're on top of the fact on how to do research. That they can prove that they have the knowledge as well as also the time and the interest to be engaged in it for quite some time. Hadil, regarding the proposal, do we have to follow the correct layout when we submit the application? For example, if it's quantitative, should it provide the questionnaire? The correct layout, I mean, we have, but that's not for the application process itself. For the application process itself, we're not diving into the questionnaires, etc. There, you should just show your research idea and the idea of the methodology, how you would like to do it. But the questionnaire is too detailed. What is the format of the research proposal needed?
Well, there is a format, Elia, there's a format which you can download from the program website, and that's called expression of interest. And there you will have the format of what we expect from you to submit when you want to apply. And again, how detailed should it be? That's also explained in the expression of interest. Like it's a half a page of introduction, then one page of the methodology, but again, that was also explained here in one of the slides. So when you get the recordings, then you will also see that, or you download it from the program website.
Finally, if you're submitting your PhD, practice learns that your articles should be in the pipeline, but it's not necessary to have been published. We know because that takes a lot of time to be published. So ideally, well, 2 articles should be published, and the third one should be in the pipeline by the time you're finishing your PhD. But often we also have students with only 1 article really published, and the others are in the pipeline, or even that 3 are in the pipeline. That's an answer to the question of Melina S. Christina B, do I need a certain amount of ECS to start a program?
I think we discussed that already. Again, master programs sometimes have different in the amount of ECTS. What we are asking for is a completed master. And again, if you have any doubts about that, then please contact me. And you can see my email address on this last slide. And then I will look into this.
And what typically should be in the motivation letter? I think we answered that as well. We would like to see that you have time, interest, and capabilities and funds to be enrolled in the program. Then Zahed Amin, hi, I'm interested to understand whether research on circularity in apparel manufacturing and sustainable finance would be relevant for the PhD program. Yes, definitely, very much so. Anonymous does an MBA from a Netherlands University of Applied Science qualify for sustainable master degree for PhD. Iris?
Yeah, again here, a completed master is accepted, but If there is any doubt, then contact me, and I also can check already upfront if the master you have is accepted by Maastricht University SB.
Do you require a certain amount of years of professional experience from the admission by Blaze? What do we say?
Yeah, I think it's good to have some professional experience, but as far as I know, there's not really like years mentioned in the admission requirements. But
yeah, so I mean, just from experience, we have some very young PhD students as well, but everybody have I think at least 2 years or 3 years or so of experience. But I mean, if you're really a good researcher, then that's really preferred. Amel Shabana, returning to my question, I'm interested in pursuing PhD focusing on digitization. With a comparative study between and especially the private sector, would it be an exploratory in control process in the area of digitalization? Yeah, well, still, I mean, it's. I think it could be considered as we have also. I mean, the Faculty of Business and Economics is quite wide. We have also a huge faculty of finance, and we have supervisors also from the Department of Finance, so they could be involved. So I don't say no upfront, although I prefer to have also a third country here if we're talking about a comparative study, and that should be focusing on emerging economies. Abdullah, do I need to show employer approval for my study?
I think that's already answered, Diederik.
Hadil, what if the second time? What if this is my first time I can reject because of the topic? So should I repeat the process for applying again? I think that shows a lot of motivation and interest. And yes, please feel free. And then we definitely can consider Hadil. I think that's it, Iris.
Yes, I think that brings us to the last question. Michaela, maybe are there any other questions from the chat we should answer?
No, I think it's fine. We cover everything.
All right. Well, then, on behalf of the Maastricht School of Management, I would like to thank everybody for their participation and for all the questions, and looking very much forward to your application in this private sector development PhD program. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Good
afternoon.
Bye-bye.